Everyone, I am Nifemi Oguntoye. We have breaking news. President Bola Tinubu has just directed the Attorney General of the Federation to ensure the immediate release of 52 minors detained during the nationwide protests in Kaduna and Kaduna State on the 3rd of August. We have details of that story in a minute, but let's begin with the latest developments in President Tinubu's cabinet reshuffle. 7 new ministers have been sworn in after Senate confirmation, replacing 5 discharged ministers. President Tinubu today expressed gratitude to the National Assembly for their swift screening and confirmation process. And this follows the swearing-in by the president at the Villa after the discharge of 5 ministers as part of measures by President Tinubu to rejuvenate his cabinet.
On the constitutional review assignment that they perform on the 7 new ministers. Again, I congratulate the 7 newly sworn in ministers. Congratulate you and thank you on behalf of this country for accepting to serve your nation. The moment is challenging. The present situation called for a very serious commitment. Yours is a duty to serve, and that's what you've come to do.
Already, the newly created Ministry of Livestock Development has done a lot of data mining in terms of getting the infrastructure that is directly related to livestock. We're doing this because our belief in the ministry is that what you cannot measure, you cannot change. Put all of them on the same plate and make sure that we migrate them from where they are into properly unbundling that sector to ensure, 1, sufficient and adequate food and nutrition for the country, safe operating environment for all the stakeholders in the country.
And now to our main conversation today, President Bola Tinubu has directed the Attorney General of the Federation to ensure the immediate release of 52 minors detained during the nationwide protests in Kano and Kaduna states on the 3rd of August. The announcement was made today by the Minister of Information, Idris Mohammed, during a briefing at the State House. The President did say, whatever the circumstances, the minors should be released immediately. He also disclosed that President Tinubu has instructed the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to ensure the welfare of the minors and ensure they are reunited with their families. He said President Tinubu ordered the establishment of an administrative committee to review the minors' arrest and treatment. Idris Mohammed also conveyed Mr. President's directive that law enforcement agents should, in the detentions, who were involved in the detentions would be investigated, while disciplinary action is to follow if any infractions are discovered. The President's decision has now given political will to the decision already being taken by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. Recall that the arraignment of 76 protesters, mostly minors, for alleged mutiny has sparked controversy across the nation. The protesters were granted 10 million naira bail each, with the matter adjourned till January next year. Attorney General Lateef Fagbemi has since asked the Nigeria police to transfer the case file to him, and the protesters, we understand, according to the police, were part of the nationwide protest which emerged in response to soaring food prices and worsening living conditions. Critics argue that government's response is excessive, with many questioning the legality of detaining and prosecuting minors. Let's talk to our State House correspondent, Femi Akonde, who's been following this development very closely. Femi, what more details do you have for us as regards Mr. President's intervention in this regard?
Well, hi, Nifemi. The president's intervention is the latest, since we saw the video of these protesters that were arrested during the nationwide protest and brought to court. We later gathered that about 57 of them are minors. And what President Bola Tinubu has said now is, or has done, is giving a clear directive to the Attorney General of the Federation to ensure that without prejudice, those identified as minors are released and reunited with their parents. What's most important here is that the president has also ordered an investigation into the circumstances surrounding their arrests. The law enforcement agents now will have some questions to answer. How and why did they arrest people who are believed to be minors? Even when they were arrested, how were they treated? How were they handled? In what kind of facility were they kept, for about 90 days before they were eventually arraigned in court? All of that, all of these questions will be asked at an investigative inquiry, already directed by President Bola Tinubu. So in the coming days, we expect to see so much more unfold. But first, these minors will be released unconditionally. Nifemi.
Interesting twist to the story following what has been a major reaction from majority of Nigerians having seen that video from the court. But earlier today, Femi, Mr. President sworn in 7 new ministers. What were the marching orders from the Commander-in-Chief?
Well, the marching order from the Commander-in-Chief was telling them that the task ahead of them is daunting and it needs their commitment, whole commitment, and they would need to be focused in ensuring that they understand the policies of President Bola Tinubu, his vision, so that they'll be able to properly implement all of these policies, given the new portfolios they have been assigned. The Minister of Livestock Development, a new Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, a new Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment, a new Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, and it goes on like that. President Bola Tinubu is saying that they are coming on board at a very critical time in Nigeria's history, where the country has recorded sluggish economic growth. But President Bola Tinubu is saying that despite all of these challenges, that there's still prospects for rapid economic growth, and the country's economy is already beginning to record this growth, as backed up by data provided by the National Bureau of Statistics. And he is saying that he would want these new ministers to help drive this economic growth and prosperity. Nifemi.
What feelers are you getting from the presidency? This cabinet shakeup, is it expected to happen again in the course of this administration?
Well, it's hard to tell what to expect, but President Bola Tinubu, again, at the beginning of his administration, when he was appointing ministers, also appointed Hadiza Bala Usman as special advisor on policy, on policy to the president. And she is the one that is saddled with the responsibility of appraising the performance of ministers, and this will be a continuous process. So we expect that, these new ministers, and indeed those who have survived the last, this recent shakeup, will continue to be appraised, and along the line, anyone who is found wanting or whose appraisal is not up to standard and haven't met and is unable to meet certain key performance index set by Mr. President will then be shown the way out, and maybe some other fresh persons will be onboarded. So it's a continuous process. We had to wait for about more than 15 months to see this shake-up. We do not know how long we will wait again to see if indeed there will be another shake-up. Also, if the ministers perform, then they will have nothing to worry about. Nifemi.
State House correspondent Femi Akonde live for us at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. Thanks for the update there, Femi. Well, we now know that President Bola Tinubu has directed the Attorney General of the Federation to ensure the immediate release of 52 minors detained during the nationwide protests in Kano and Kaduna State on the 3rd of August. We're going to be speaking with a lawyer and policy analyst right after this break to understand the legal intricacies of this new twist and other